Hello, and welcome. Welcome to today's installment of Creative for More, the podcast. It's a beautiful day, and I've got a beautiful show for you today. I'm going to be in conversation with an amazing lady. I've just been so fascinated by her. I've observed, I've stalked, and then finally, to the glory of God, she is in the studios, and I know that it is going to be enlightening, enriching, and everything in between. So I've got the amazing Morenike and she's the founder and creative director of Oak Antique, which is arguably the fastest growing full service interior design company in Africa. And it says on her bio here that through her focused leadership, Morenike has succeeded in positioning Oak Antique as a leading interior design company just within a short space of 9 years. Her company is based in Lagos. However, she has served clients across multiple states in Nigeria and also further afield in Dubai. And her work spans across industries from finance, hospitality, not-for-profits, schools, and hotels as well. Look, if I sat here and read your bio, that is all we would do. So let's get straight into it because I can't wait. How are you? And welcome to Creative for More, the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you. And an amazing job that you're doing, right? When I got the invitation, I said, let me go and check out this person too. And then I checked you out and I'm like, wow, she's doing so much, right? And just like you said, created for more, right? I see that you're doing so much, and thank you so much for transforming lives, right, through this podcast, and for ensuring that people live better. Thank you so much for all that you're doing, and I celebrate you and I honor you.
Thank you so much. That means a lot to me. I always start by asking people to introduce themselves on the show because I have that script, which is amazing, all shades of glory, all these amazing things that you've done. But the truth is that nothing beats you speaking and introducing yourself and telling us who you are. What is the essence of you? Like, what do you stand for? What do you represent? Come on, let us know.
Amazing, interesting. All right, you know that this part, when you ask people to introduce themselves, they're always very humble about it. They don't like talking up. It cannot be me.
I love it.
It cannot be me. So, but again, there will be some element of humility inside of it as part. My name is Morenike, and I'm 33, right? And I am a child of God, which is the most important achievement of my life. I'm also a mom of 2. I'm married to my best friend and mentor. We've been married for 11 years. I also own an interior design company called Oak Antique, and it's been in existence for almost a decade now. Next year to be a decade. And doing business in this terrain for a decade is not for the faint-hearted, and I'm so grateful that we are still here, and it's growing daily, even regardless of the conditions that we find ourselves. Resilient, we're being resilient about it, right? And we thank God for grace. Also, the convener of the Complete Woman. The Complete Woman has been set up to equip women to fulfill destiny. I'm also the co-founder of Oak Antique Foundation. Oak Antique Foundation was set up with my husband and I as a set up to restructure Nigeria's infrastructure in the areas of healthcare and education. So last year we launched, and we're committed to 5 projects, and we did that. So we renovated 2 hospitals and 3 schools. I mean, like low income private schools, government schools as well, because I used to be really upset when I'm passing through a government school, no way, from looking at it from outside, no windows, it's just a total mess. And I'm thinking, like, how do you learn in such an environment, right? And so that used to really upset me so much. I'll be so upset. And the mother said, we are there upset, just do something about it. So I said, okay, regardless, I don't have to have all the money in the world. But then I'll start with something. And so we set up the foundation, and I think that that really makes me happy. We still have so much to do, in Lagos, and then we'll move outside of Lagos, within Nigeria, and then later within Africa, right? So I'm also an amazing friend to all my amazing friends. I know people don't, I take friendship very seriously. So, I'm really, really excited that I have beautiful friends, and I'm also a beautiful friend to my friends. I love to enjoy my life. If you follow me, if you know me, I enjoy my life because, how they say the problem no they finish, right? So,
Yeah.
regardless, like every day, there might be one or two things that might try to throw you off balance, right? But you should enjoy the moment because there are some issues and challenges that we're facing right now, or that we're facing, say, 2 years ago. We can't even remember it. But guess what? Our hearts were troubled at the time. But then, so how do you want to live life constantly, always, apprehensive, always thinking, oh my goodness, this is happening, knowing fully well that in 6 months' time, or sometimes even in a week, that challenge might not matter anymore. So why give it that power? So because I know that things would always, that this too shall pass. I always tell myself, whatever challenge I'm going through, whatever it is I'm going through, I say this too shall pass. And I tell myself I'm going to have an amazing time. Because guess what? We have responses to when, life throws things at us. It's either we, become sad about it, or we become happy. Both are emotions, right? And I realize that happy emotions is not easy. You need to train yourself, and also train yourself in the word and knowing who you are, right? It's just like if I'm Dangote's daughter, for example, and I'm broke in my pocket, I can't really be so worried like that. I know that last, I'll go and meet my daddy. I'll rub his shoulder, I'll hug him, and then you just say, okay, what do you want? Oh yeah, take. Do you get? So Dangote's daughter can never be worried about money. So me as a child of God, why should I be worried about anything? Yes, I'm going through it, and I'll just tell my father, and he'll make things easy. I mean, like, so that's why I'll just ensure that I enjoy my life regardless, and I see that it helps a lot in everything that I do. It might just seem like it's enjoyment. You like enjoyment, but I realize that it helps me in every area of my life. What else? I'm a go-getter. Once I set my mind to do something, I get it done, and there's nothing that I set my mind to. And at the same time, I play a lot as well. So there's a thin balance, right? But I'm grateful that I'm able to balance it, from playing too much and then also being a go-getter. I mean, that's like, me in a
I
nutshell.
love it.
If you leave me alone, I will keep talking and talking and talking and
I
talking.
love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Literally, you are just a breath of fresh air. So, one of the
Thank
reasons why
you.
I was so keen to speak with you on the podcast, and one of the things I know, reasons I know that you'll be a blessing to our listeners, is that you represent this vision of a woman that is multidimensional. We have this image of women, you are a wife and that's it, and that is all that you can be, or mother, but this is you. As you've introduced there, you've talked about how, family is important to you, friendships important to you, having fun is important to you, business, you have, growing the fastest growing, interior design business in Africa, that's important to you, foundation work is important to you, ministry is important to you. So the first question, and probably possibly the question you get asked the most, is how do you balance it all?
Balance it. I always say that this question, I get it every single day. I'm not even joking. After this podcast, I'm sure that I will enter into my DM and get that question again. And so if I had like every million for every
You'll be
question,
rich.
for when this question is asked, I'll be a multi-billionaire. But then I think that at the end of the day, it's understanding your core and understanding where your source is from. So I'll just say this. So I remember when I was how old was I? I think I was 18, and it just dropped in my spirit then, and I just thought about it, that I will be a 360 woman, not a 180, not a 90
Love it.
degrees. I will be like
Love
an
it.
all round, like 360. And for me that time, it didn't really make sense. So I studied mathematics in school. Like I have 2 degrees in mathematics, and so I think that's
Wow.
the reason why. Yeah, I think that's the reason why numbers make sense to me. And so I said 360. What does that mean? And so I began to dig deep. And I was still a teenager at the time. I had not even gotten married. I was not even in a relationship. I don't know. But I think at that time, at that season in my life, I was telling myself that everything around me must not suffer, and I must enjoy the fullness of this life. And so every season that I find myself, when I'm single, okay, what are the things that I need to do right now to enjoy my singlehood? Go out, play sports, join a fellowship. Okay, so body, soul, mind, body, soul, everything, like, so. And then when I got married, okay, now that I've added marriage to it, how do I enjoy my marriage? When the children came, how do I enjoy being a mom? Because I know that being a mom is not easy, right? There are challenges and there are things that everybody is thrown there. There's no manual for motherhood, but regardless, people have done it. Millions of women have done it, and they did nothing. Yes, they are standing today. And so that's what, and then when I started business as well, I said, my business, I'm going to enjoy it. Yes, I know that it can also have its own seasons, challenges, but I would enjoy it regardless, and I'll be great at what I do, right? So excellence is very, very important. So anything that I take, that I want to do, I go all out and ensure, that I do well. So, but then now, I won't even lie, now that I have the resources to delegate, things are a bit easier. So I can't even compare my now to 11 years ago, right? It was almost like I was running around like a headless chicken. But I also knew at the back of my mind that it was for a short season. So I had my first child, and then I started my business almost the same time. You can imagine how that was. People would invite me for weddings, for parties, for outings. I would always turn it down because I didn't just have the time. I was even just trying to even balance myself first, with all the new, things that I've found myself in. But then I did that, I would say, like 3 years, 4 years, and then I began to understand the rhythm of things. Now you see me going out, I'm hanging out with friends, all of that. You might think that this person just, but there are things that I've already, done in the past that I've also set that makes it easier. So I delegate more now, right? If I wake up in the morning, I might have 30 something things to do for the day. But guess what? I might only do 3 things personally. The remaining 28 or 29 things, I have delegated them. And so I always encourage women that they should understand the art of delegation. It's actually an art, right? Because everyone wants to just do things by themselves. Everyone thinks that nobody can do things the way they will do it. But I say it's a lie, right? People, if you equip people, they can actually do things even better than you would do it naturally. So those are some of the things that has helped me in terms of balancing, and just knowing that, see, look, I don't want to get to 70, I don't want to get to 80, I don't want to get to 90, and then look back on my life and realize that I did not enjoy my life. I don't want that to be my story. So every day I'm very intentional, because it's these days, it's the minutes, the hours, the days, the weeks that come together to sum up our lifetime, right? So if you're not enjoying the moment, I mean, you will just wake up one morning and I realize that I don't feel fulfilled. I always think about that on my 70th birthday, when I'm seated with my children, my grandchildren. I want to be able to look back and know that I lived a fulfilled life. I won't even lie to you, as I'm seated today, if Jesus Christ calls all of us home, I've lived a fulfilled life. I have lived a fulfilled life, because every day I am intentional about it. And we don't want to live life not being intentional, right?
Yes.
And that's the mistake of many people.
A lot of people.
You just wake up and then you're 50 and you're thinking, I was just now. Yes, you might have a successful job, successful career. You might have these goals, everything, you've hit it, but you can't really say I've lived a fulfilled and successful life, right? So I don't want that to be my case, and so that's why every day is meaningful. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I wonder, there was something that you said that was just so I was like, it was so revelatory to me, because you said at the age of 18 you started already thinking about, you didn't want to be 90 degrees woman, you didn't want to be a 60 degrees woman, you wanted to be 180 degrees, wanted to be 360. What gave you that kind of awareness at that kind of young age? And it kind of links to another question, which is, who were you as a child? How were you raised? Because I think
Mm.
there is something to be said here for the kind of grounding that you had that would even let you come into an awareness of such a thing at such a young age. So perhaps, people might be able to pick from some of the things that you say around how to raise children in terms of the way you were raised. And I
Mm.
may be, I don't know, but I'm just
I
suspecting. So
understand you. I
Mm.
understand you because I get this question as well. And people they would even say, "Oh, I need to meet your parents. I need to ask them what they did," because to the glory of God. So my parents have three children, and three of us turned out well, or have turned
Mm.
out well. But I don't even think that they also had like any secret like that. But their secret their source as God. My parents are pastors, and if
Mm.
you know pastors' children, most times you would hear that pastors'
Mm.
children, they are wayward, they are this, they are that.
Mm.
But I'm grateful for the kind of parents that I had as pastors. So at home, I didn't really feel like my parents were pastors. So when they're in church, they are pastors. When they are home, they are parents, right? So
Mm.
there was that distinction, and we felt the love. And I think that usually that's really all that matters. The love, the fact that every child mattered. If I went to my mom and I asked her for something, or I told her that I was going through this challenge, she would sort it out. I remember one person that broke my heart one time, and how old was I? I was like, yeah, 17 or 18. But it wasn't my
Mm.
mother that even encouraged me to enter that relationship in the first place.
Your
So
mother.
just to tell you how that I know, I know, I know. She was
Wow.
the one. so when so when I chopped breakfast, I went back and I met her. I said, "Mommy, see, they broke my heart." So she was like, "What nonsense? He does not have sense." No, she was, obviously like, so she acted like my like,
It's
what
like
does
a
it
best
mean by
friend.
that? Well, look at you, a old beautiful girl like he has lost. He's missing a lot. Yada yada. And she now started telling me about how she too, when she was my age, she had one boyfriend like that too that broke her heart. But look at her now with my daddy. That can't that if she had ended up with that guy, her life would have been miserable. And then we started laughing about it. Do you understand? Like that. So I was blessed with such a mom, and that's why I'm also very very intentional about my daughter now. She's going to be 10 in December, and I try as much as possible to have conversations with her. And I tell her, don't be shy, don't be afraid to tell me anything. Worst case, for example, I'm already preparing for when she'll start her menstruation. Okay, am I going to have like a little party for her and
Mm.
my core friends, just to teach her, and just like yesterday she was already telling me that, "Woman, my stomach is paining me." I said, maybe your menstruation might be coming. Like conversation that might seem uncomfortable, but I'm having it now because so that when she's even older, when it now comes to crushes, boyfriends, things like that, it is easier because I've started having those conversations even as early. Imagine if I wasn't having such conversations with her. By the time she's 16, there's some conversations that I might feel like she might not want to
Mm.
tell me. And I
Mm.
also want a situation where her friends also feel comfortable discussing with me because they cannot discuss with their parents, right? So I'm
Mm.
that mom that you can come to, let's hang out, let's go out and all that. So I had that beautiful relationship with my parents, and I'm so grateful for that. The environment in the house wasn't toxic. It was such a beautiful, nurturing um, environment. I'm also the first child, and so I used to feel like I was older, way older. I had to behave like I was older than my age. That's another thing that helped as well. So when I got married at 22, I thought I was like 30 years old. I thought I was very ready for marriage. Like you cannot even tell me anything. I'm born ready. I'm prepared. So I've always had that mentality that I'm really matured. And because I always took up leadership roles, I think that I felt like I was way ahead of my age. So that helped as well. But I would say that, to be honest, it's been God and God all along. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love your mom. I've got to say, I love your mom.
Yes,
Uh,
she's a cool mom. She's a cool, even up till now, she's one of the coolest moms
Aw,
ever. Even till
she
now,
sounds incredible.
even till now, yes, even till
She
now.
sounds incredible. Okay, so I want us to just kind of touch on, and so at what point you talked about being a mathematician, you studied math. How did you
Yeah,
end up in interior
yeah.
design, arts? Like how, where did that come from? And did you decide at the
Such a
beginning
beautiful
that you were
story.
going to build, such a notable brand?
Okay, so interestingly, right? I had 2 degrees in mathematics. First, industrial mathematics, and then the second one was
Maths
financial
again.
mathematics. I'm not finished. The second one was financial mathematics and computation, right? So that was for my second degree. And it came from, again, like I told you, once I set my mind to something, that's the end. Just don't let me set my mind to once I set it, it's all over. So in SS1, I failed mathematics, both normal math and further math. I had F9 in both subjects.
What?
SS1 first term. And so I got home. My dad was upset, obviously. I'm sure he even scolded me and then sat me down and said, you know that if you want to know this thing, you can know it. And I said, okay, I will try. And so throughout that term, there were other subjects too. I was doing them, but I then had like this love for mathematics and said, I will pass you. You this math that gave me F9, I will pass it. And so I started everything I could. I was obsessed with it. You can imagine the second time I had A1 in both mathematics and further mathematics. And that's how my love started. Such that when I even now went into university, I chose mathematics. That's how serious it was. So that kind of mentality and that kind of habit is what has also gotten me through life. Once I say I want to do something, that energy, that ginger, that focus, that determination just comes in and I do it. So when I got married, because after I came out from my master's, I was working in a consulting firm. But then our house, because I just got married, and so we did up our space. The space was beautiful. Everyone that would come in would compliment how beautiful the home was. To me, it was just normal. But growing up, I remember that my mom had the flair for interior design. So my mom is that kind of mom that if you came to our house in January, you would see a lovely house. If you come in March, the house has been rearranged, sort of. So we always and every time that she travels, even up till now, every time she travels, she would always bring new decor items to accessorize the house. Our house was always lovely. So I grew up in that kind of environment. So unconsciously, I already had like design, the love for interior design growing up. My mom was the kind of auntie in the family that once someone built a house, to call my mom to come and choose curtains, paint, help them. But at that time, it wasn't a business, it was just like a hobby. So she was that person in the family, literally, that everyone would call, come and help me to do this, sort that out. So I just turned it into a business. And I remember my husband was the one that advised, because I didn't even think that I could do business. With the kind of temperament that I have, I'm such a calm, gentle, don't stress me, soft life, I'm not here to suffer. Please, just let me just do my 9 to 5, wear my nice pantsuit and give them this old boss lady vibes. Let's go climb up the corporate ladder and I'm fine. And so when my husband said, sister, this one everybody's always coming and complimenting how beautiful the house is, because to me it was normal. And that's why sometimes we take for granted the skills that we have. Because it's normal to us doesn't mean that it is normal to everybody. Somebody might be so good with, somebody might be so skilled with cooking and just think that it's normal, but not everybody loves cooking, right? So sometimes we trivialize and that's one thing that I learned from that experience, because to me it was just normal. Like, people should live in a beautiful house. That's a normal thing. My mother like, my sister, it's not normal. It's not normal. So I said, okay, no problem. So I decided that I would start as a business. He encouraged me and he said, just start. What's the worst that can happen, right? After 6 months, after 1 year, if you think that it is not for you, then you know that you've tried. But don't now live life thinking, I could have done this, so I should have done this, I should have done that. And that's how I said, okay, worst case, 1 year, let me just show my husband that I tried. And you see that business is not for me. I told you. And he said, no, Wala, let's do it. 9 years after, I think that's one of the biggest scams ever, because I'm still here. But I think that the same determination that I had was what I also put into the business. Because even when I was starting, I didn't go to an interior design school. It was years into the business that I now attended an interior design school. And I'm grateful because I could have waited for everything to be perfect before starting. But I said, no, I will learn on the job. And as a woman, that's one thing. Well, that's one of the things that holds us back sometimes. We're trying to perfect everything. We're trying to ensure that everything is perfect before we start. But guess what? You never know the lies that are tied to you by just obeying and starting.
Yes.
Along the line, right? It would shine, his light onto our path, onto our foot, and then he will show us as we go along. But if you don't go at all, you never can tell what is in front of you. So that's what helped me, and that's what still keeps helping me today. Because I feel like there's some projects that we are working on now that is because it's just purely based on experience. And so if you had wasted time not starting, and we will not be getting those kind of jobs now
So
because
good.
we are not yet equipped for it and we don't even have the experience yet. And so I always advise people,
Mm.
if you know that this is what you want to do, just start it. Don't even think too much
Mm.
about it. Just start, except it is a profession like medicine, where you don't just go
Mm.
and start medicine before you go and see
Mm.
somebody trying to do operation,
No,
yes. But if it's not like something that has to do with life and death, then just start it. Because even if you
mm,
have all the degrees in the world, you have everything, it can still never be perfect. So what are we waiting for? Let's just
yes.
start, and
So,
you just keep building from there.
yeah. So, what would you have to advice would you give people who start and are in that? You talk about, so part of the what you're doing is building up the experience. So you might not necessarily be doing like from day one like incredible work, but for some people it
Mm.
takes time between that time when they start and the time where they maybe start gaining complete like notoriety, like people see them and they're getting rewarded commensurately for the work that they're doing. It takes time. So,
Mm.
what do you advise for people who are in that waiting season where it doesn't look like people call it the season where David was between when he was anointed and when he became king, where it just looks like you
Mm.
got the word, it's gone, but it just doesn't feel right. What would you advise to women who are in that boat?
So that's an very interesting question, because even for me as well, like I had a waiting season for like 2 years in this business that I'm doing. I mean, like the first, and I think that I already prepared for it. So that might be a difference, right? Where people are, yes, I mean, immediately you say you want to do something, you're immediately expecting results, right? But then you're not expecting the other part, and you're not true to yourself. I always say that business plans are always successful on paper. Like anyone that puts up a business plan, hardly will you say, "Oh, I'm going to fail in year one, year two, then from year four." It's always the graph is always like this. But then you start it and you realize that it sometimes can be like this before you get your
Mm,
your rhythm, right? So it's just sitting down, counting your costs, and then ensuring that, okay, yes, I understand what the risks are and I understand what can happen, but I will stick to it. Consistency, right? Consistency is it. So for me, those 2 years, I already knew that maybe for me, I think it was just 1 year. I gave myself 1 year, but then it happened in the second year. Now, I said I would just keep equipping myself with the requisite knowledge. I will keep updating myself because I self-taught myself because my husband and I couldn't afford for me to go to an interior design school. He said, what I can just do is that I will ensure that there's internet in the house. You just build. That's all I can
I
promise
love
you.
it.
Correct? Yes, because right now we are just trying to balance this new journey of
Married, yeah.
marriage rather. So I cannot, and I know you. If you say you want to go to interior design school, it's something abroad you want to go for. So my sister, just let's manage this one. And so my husband ensured that there was always internet at home, and so it was my own duty to then learn. So after I go to work, come back, do everything I need to do, sleep, wake up at 2 a.m. and then study from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. What I did was I downloaded the curriculum of the top interior design schools in the world, because when they are sending their courses, they would write out, the models. And so I took each model and then I would learn. So things on lighting, things on, color, things on,
Please,
theme,
please,
different
please, can,
things, I would
please, can you
learn.
say that again? Can we just stop it here? No, 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 no,
He
no, no,
says,
no,
can
no.
we just
Let us
stop here?
no. Let us give this thing the seriousness
Mm,
it deserves. Because people are always
It just
waiting,
matters.
thinking that unless I go for training with this person, I
Mm.
cannot achieve. I
Ah,
always tell
no.
people this thing. There
Mm.
is something
Mm.
called the
No.
University of YouTube. Create a
Yes. Yes.
curriculum, pull together a curriculum,
Yes.
and you can learn
Mm-hmm.
anything. What you pay for when
Anything.
you go and learn
Mm.
from people is a structured curriculum, and they are cutting out the time that
Yes.
it will take for you to go and do the research.
Exactly.
Speak
And
to
so
that,
that's what
please.
helped me, because I did that consistently for 2 years. For 2 years. And it wasn't easy, because it is not easy to discipline yourself. If you're going to class, you know that okay, school they would structure you. You have to go to class. Your teacher will give you assignment. If you don't submit by so time, you will not get scored. But me, I was scoring myself. I had that discipline was to another level, because nobody was watching, but I knew that I needed to do this for my future. And so I would literally take a topic, say lighting, and I can be on that for like 3 months, ensuring that I understand every and anything. Now, Google, reading, YouTube, watching videos, because I'm the kind of person that videos stick better than just reading. So I know myself, and so I'll watch, I'll read everything, such that there was a day, I think years after, somebody sent a comment or somebody sent me a DM and said, I love the way you play with lighting. And in my head, I'm like, oh, okay. It wasn't like it was anything conscious. But because of the things that I learned, I had read, when I had the opportunity to express the residual knowledge and the knowledge that I'd been, accumulating all this way, I could express it. And that's when I knew that, yes, all the things that I'd been learning, so when I was going to enroll into New York Institute of Arts and Designs, it was just for formality's sake. It wasn't like I did not know all the things it was just because I knew that I would get to a point in my career where companies that you're working with would say, will be part of the requirement. I don't want a situation whereby I have everything except a certification, right? Because there are some projects that are so big that it requires certain things, and I don't want to miss out on that. So that's why I decided I was going to do it. If not, I've learned on the job, I've learned from teaching myself, I've learned over the years. And so I would just encourage anyone here that is in that waiting season, because regardless, like if you have value, there's no way people will not find you. And there's no way. Imagine somebody now that has the cure for cancer. Everybody will be rushing the person. Even if the person is black skinned, it does not matter anymore whether the person is black skin, whether the person is white skin, whether the person is gray skin. As long as you have that value, the world will look for you. And so that waiting season, because there will be waiting season, let's not lie, except we just want to deceive ourselves, there will be waiting season. So what do you do during that waiting season? You cannot allow it to waste, because you get to a point where you're not thinking, that waiting season, I could have used it for important things, to equip myself for such a time like this. And so that's what happened, 2 years after, and I started getting projects. But then before then, I remember that I was also, everywhere that I went to, remember I said, I used to be an introvert, because now if I say I'm an introvert, people don't believe. So let me just say I used to be an introvert. I used to be an introvert. So I'm not the kind of person that would go, if I'm somewhere, I would just hide in a corner before. But now I think it was shyness. Let's not even lie. It's not that I was an introvert. I was just shy, right? But I remember that, okay, and I told myself that, Rennie, if you're going to do business, I don't think it will pay you if you are keeping quiet. So you need to open your mouth. And at the time, Instagram had not really started like that. I mean, it has started, but it wasn't so popular at the time. It wasn't popular. And so anytime that I went out, it was a struggle, but I would always introduce myself and introduce what I did, because I realized that I needed to deposit the information in their hearts, because I never know where where those people's legs will get
I
to,
love that.
such that when they are in rooms and someone is asking for an interior designer, they can say, oh, I know someone, I met someone, or I saw her, some of the work that she has done. I've not used that before, but the person seems nice, the person seems like they know what to do. You can give it a try. I mean, it's better than I did not say anything. If they are looking for an interior designer, that person that passed me might not have known and will recommend somebody else. And so that was my mentality at the time, and still my mentality till today. Because there's some places that I go to, when I introduce my company, I'm not like, I know that they might not be able to afford our services, but they might be in rooms. I've had situations where we did projects and it was the PA to the chairman that recommended us or referred us, because chairman does not have time to be checking Instagram or checking or knowing who is an interior designer. But the PA is on social media, knows the top interior designers, and will recommend us. So you never can. It can be driver, it can be security. And because of the kind of person that I am, I speak to any and everybody, because you never can tell how someone's story will change tomorrow. I don't want a situation whereby I look down on somebody, and then in 2 years' time, the person is now the governor of Lagos State, and I don't have the heart to go and meet the person because I look down on the person. What is situation by the person sees me and say, this is, I remember you now when I was hungry. You gave me 100 naira to buy Coke and buy bread. I will never forget what you did for me. God bless you, my sister. That's how people's lives need to change, right? So I'm not saying that you now go out trying to do things for everybody because you want your reward, but just because it's our human basic thing to do. Because if I cannot create the hair on somebody's head, then I don't have the right to look down on anybody, right? I'm not God, I didn't create you. So, I mean, like, that's what I used to do at the time. I would go out and then I would market my business for 2 years. So that when I was disturbing people. And then some people just say, you know what, so that you allow me to rest. Come and do something. Come and I say, thank you so much. And then I did it, and then I proved myself. And obviously referrals started coming from those jobs, and that's how it's just taking a flight from there ever since.
Wow, one of the fastest growing interior design houses in Africa. Please, can you elaborate on that?
My goodness. And so yes, I'm grateful for our growth, extremely grateful for our growth. Anytime that I speak to some colleagues or speak to industry experts, I realize that the speed in which we have projects, in which we do things, is not normal, right? In fact, we get overwhelmed with work, regardless of how bad the situation of the economy is. And that's because I don't even, so right now, everybody shouting dollar is this, it has gone up, and people are not really spending, because the kind of industry that I mean is capital intensive, right? If anybody, it's not like 50K, somebody cannot just go and say, I want to decorate my house for 50K. It's not possible. You're talking about millions, right? So it's not money that is easy for people to just drop like that. And now that spending power has reduced, you would expect that it would also affect. But I always just have this mentality that I'm not operating on regular economy, right? I am operating from a kingdom economy. So what would happen is that it's either, because yes, dollar is affecting someone like Dangote, dollar is affecting some certain people, but it doesn't mean that they have eventually gone broke, right? They are still wealthy. So I just tell God that, God, you will just direct me to those people that still have the money regardless of what the naira is saying. And God, the ones that don't really have so much but want to use our services, God bless them. Let one big contract come to them such that they'll be able to have, there are just different ways you can look at things. I think it was 4 days ago, I was just doing my devotion, and I was just praying for all my friends, and I was praying to God, and I was telling God that, God, bless them beyond their wildest imaginations, like give them like big breaks, big promotions. Yeah, some of them they already have a big break, but give them bigger breaks, because guess what? When they have these big breaks and they need to do up their office, they need to do up their homes, they need to do up, something. I'm almost going to be the one that will be at the top of their mind. So if I'm praying for the blessings of my friends, I'm indirectly also praying for my own blessing, because it will come back to me, right? I don't want to be that only person in a circle of people that is the wealthy one. No, I don't want. Where do I now get the money from? All of us, we all need to, so that we can all rub off on one another. And beyond that, just praying for abundance for everyone. So that's how, I've been able to navigate such seasons. I would not accept anybody saying that, I'm just sitting at home, there's nothing. No. In the midst of, say during COVID, when everyone was shut down, some people, that was when they made their biggest money. That was when they even blew. See Netflix, Zoom, businesses like that. That's when their companies even took a different turn, right? People that were selling sanitizers, face masks, essential services. There were a lot of businesses that, even in the midst of that, in that period, they actually excelled. So I don't believe that there is, for me, I say that all the time, there will be something for me. So during your waiting season, ensure that you don't waste it, because you will pray for it. You will pray for that time where
Mm,
you need time to be able to study, you need time to be able to
mm,
research, you need time to be able to do certain things. So yes.
mm. I love it. Thank you so much. So now you've achieved, well, in this journey of success, you then decide that, you know what, I want more. You
Mm.
doing foundation, you're doing ministry work. It's like, what was that like for you? Just that, what was coming into that paradigm of more? At what point did you realize that, you know what, it's not enough to just be successful in this? There is so much more that I can do. And what was that what was that transition like for you?
So for me, from from very young age, I've always been about a life of impact, right? So impact, impact, impact. In fact, I was still telling myself that I want to retire early so that I can now focus majorly on impact work. But I know that impact has to be funded,
Hmm.
right?
So
Even
good.
ministry as well, it has to be funded. So I need to, and that's the reason why, we're working like this. When I retire, the company will not shut down, obviously. There will be a new CEO, there will be people that are running the business, and then there will be, because right now the foundation is funded by the company.
Again, so let's talk about
Okay.
this because
Mm,
I find that it can be very topsy turvy sometimes.
mm,
You find so many women, particularly, and I'm not just picking on my gender here, but it's predominantly women who will go and
mm,
say, you know what, I founded this charity, I have this, we're always going to this impact work, I want to do this, but the funding for it, that money side and profitability side, they
mm,
haven't quite mastered yet. Why is it
mm,
that most people go this down this way? Is it because it's easier? Why don't
mm.
we understand the importance of ensuring that we get our finances right so that it can fund the impact work that we want? And why do we feel impact work must be funded from outside?
Mm.
Lots of questions. Answer what you can.
All right, so this is such an interesting question, or a series of questions, because I completely understand where you're coming from. I mean, like I said, I've always been a person of impact, like regardless of where I am, it's fair, if it's just giving somebody 500 naira for lunch or for breakfast, doing that not in a structured way, right? So I'd always known that you would need funds to be able to help. I mean, I don't want to remember if somebody comes to me and says, I'm hungry, and all that I'm doing is laying hands on your stomach and say, be filled, and then
Mm.
go. It will not be complete if I don't give you money to
Mhm.
eat, right? I
Mhm.
cannot pray that I
Mhm.
cannot pray for your stomach to be filled without food actually entering into your stomach. And so I'd always known that ministry work would require funds. And I don't want a situation whereby how will I put it now? Like I'm dependent on people. Now there are people that God has called and said,
Mhm.
do this. But then what people don't understand sometimes is that they don't even know the timing, right? When
Mm.
you know David was anointed king, or when he was told between that, imagine you just say, okay, no wala, you people, you give me throne, give me robe, I now want to become king. His kingship was not going to be questioned, he would become king, but it's the when, right? So
Mm.
sometimes some people just jump into that. Oh yes, because God has said I should start the foundation, I should start it now. You don't know what the process God wants to take you through before you start that foundation. And so what we did was, we I decided that okay, I would work for some time, and then we would then have a dedicated portion from our profit that would go towards the foundation. Now if anybody then sees the work that we are doing and they decide that they want to be a part of it, fantastic. But I knew that for the first, say, 5 years, we were solely going to be dependent on, because again, I knew that God was going to bless the company, because He already sees the work that we are doing. Even before we started the foundation, He was already blessing us, because He knew that we would steward the money, we would steward it well, right? And so I know that yes, okay, now we started the foundation. If we used to make maybe 100,000 naira before, and he knew that we're going to use 20%, which was 20,000 naira for the foundation. Now, God is such a, how would I put it now? Like, he understands how these things work. So he knows that, okay, if 20% is catering to 10 people, maybe, not maybe, okay, I would ensure that her revenue moves up to 1 million naira, because I know that 20% of that is now 200,000 as against the 20,000. Now she can do much more with the 200,000. Instead of 10 lives being affected by it, now 100 lives will now benefit from it. Do you understand? So you need to also give God something to work with, right? So that he then even blesses more the works of our hands. That's how I've seen it. And God has been amazing, right? And so I realized that from when we started the foundation up until now, he's just been blessing us. Yes, there are times where revenue comes down, but I'm not even worried, because I just tell God that, God, it's not my own, no, it's your own, right? It's through you. You already know what we're going to use the money for. So I'm just trusting you, and trusting shall I. And so that's how we've been able to run the foundation. And so impact work is so easy. That there's some things that we still do outside of the foundation. It's just natural to me. So I hope I've been able to answer that question, or your
So
series of
good.
questions.
So good, so good,
Yes,
so
yes,
good.
yes, yes,
And
yes,
and
yes.
then at what point did you start the total woman?
No,
Like
the complete woman.
the complete woman, sorry, I don't know why
Yes,
total.
yes.
Like, so at what point did you start the complete woman? And how
The
did that
complete
feature into everything else that you're doing you're currently doing?
So the complete woman started 2015. My
Mm.
husband pastors a church, and then at the time
Oh,
there's
you're
a
a
youth
pastor's
shop.
wife.
Uh,
Oh.
yeah, 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 yeah. Mommy Gio for
Yes.
short. Yes. So yes, because they were youth, we were passionate youth church, and then there were lots of young women, many young women, from like 18 to about late 20s thereabouts. And I knew that, there's something that God had blessed me with, and I needed to give back to people. So I prayed about it, and I told God, God, what would you have me do? What would you have me do? What would you have me do? I want to be able to impact other women's life. I don't want people coming one by one to say, oh, how do you do it? Can you advise me here? So I wanted it to just be a ministry where we can reach out to as many people as possible. And God gave, me the word, a complete woman. And it meant, so, I told you that as at 18, I said that my life 360 degrees. And so for me, the complete, and so, but you don't have, so sometimes some people feel like, oh, you have to be married, you have children for you to be a complete woman. And I say, no, as long as your identity is in Christ, you are complete. God has made you whole. God has made you complete. You're a complete woman all by yourself. There are many additions, right? When your cup is full and you keep on adding water to it, no problem. It
Mhm.
does not make the cup any. It doesn't make it doesn't
Mm,
seem that the cup is less. It just
mm,
keeps adding, and then you have the overflow. So just imagine that you are a full cup of water as a complete woman, and then the marriage comes, the children come, business comes, that
mm,
comes, is just it now becomes an overflow. But the absence of it doesn't make you incomplete. Do you see?
mm.
So that's how the ministry started, and yeah, we've been a blessing to many lives, and we still keep being a blessing to many people as well. So it's just to equip women to fulfill destiny, and ensuring that they are fulfilled in every area of their lives:
Mm.
marriage, finances, emotionally, mentally, health wise, in every sphere of their lives.
I love it. I love it. Look, I could speak to you like there's just something so soothing about the way you speak that is just so
Thank
refreshing.
you. Thank you. Thank
But as we bring
you.
this to a close, thank you for just dropping so many amazing and incredible gems. I want you to just center on, and you've spoken about it in one way or the other over the last, the time that we've been speaking. But I want you to, let's just bring this so that it's concise. For a woman who is listening to this, who says, look, You know, Rennie, I know that I am created for more, but you know, you seem to have it all good. You had this plush, amazing, supportive family. You've got the most awesome mother. You know, your dad is a pastor. Your husband is supportive. You just seem, your life just seems set to be more and 360 and whole and complete and total, you know, but I don't even know where to start. I don't know how I can step into this whole my season of wholeness and completeness. Like, how do I start navigating to this journey of being the 360 woman that you are, even though I didn't have the kind of background that you did? What would you say?
Interesting. So, I would say that acknowledge where you are. Don't be in denial. Acknowledge where you are. Now, in life, there would always be people that have the unfair advantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that they are any better. Now, my father shared a testimony one time, and he said that there was, a story rather, not a testimony, a story of how there was this pastors' conference that held in America, and then they had like different pastors come from different parts of the world to attend this conference.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were also speakers at this event. So they had like this Nigerian pastor who was the one that was sharing the story, said that he went for this conference. He was also speaking. There was another person as well that was from America that was also speaking at the conference. Now he said before the conference started, he first locked himself in the room for 3 days, fasting, praying, scabashing, everything, right? And then on the day of the conference as well, still very fortified, still not even really talking too much, and just being in the spirit all through. Now and then he comes to stage, he preaches, he prays, normal, everything is fine. But there's this guy that throughout, when they came for the 3 days while the guy was, indoors, locked, praying, fasting, this other guy, he will go and golf, he will go and swim, go and play basketball, he will eat, just flange, just enjoying himself, nothing like nothing. And then he gets on the stage and people are falling. People are the move of God is just so raw and mighty and powerful that you're like, God, what's happening? This person did not even do anything. Oh, see how people are just, see how the hand of God is just everywhere. And then you've labored, you've toiled, everything. And then God told him and said, what's your surname first of all? Let's even start with your surname. I think the surname was Ifato. Ifato is something that has to do with Ifa. That's a herbalist or this thing.
Yeah.
Your forefathers, they worshipped idols, right? You are the one that has broken that now, and then is now serving me. Now you will do and this other guy, his own forefathers he had come from a line of pastors, people that had dedicated their lives to God. Now, his own great grandfather, they had done so much work in the past, such that he's now benefiting from what they had already gone and what they had done. And so God said that what you will now do now is that you are the one that will do the work. Your son will do less work. So you are doing that work now so that your great grandchildren can enjoy. Do you understand? So
I get what you're saying.
sometimes you don't know where these things come from. And so I would say that first of all, acknowledge where you are at, and then just surrender and just commit to God.
Okay.
Now, if you are the one that would have to do the work for your generations, is one honor. I always say that when I'm gone, I want my great grandchildren to say, I'm grateful for my great grandmother, Mrs. Morenike, for all the works and all the things that she did, because I'm enjoying the proceeds of those things, right? So these are some of the things that we need to think about and say, okay, if I want my great grandchildren to have those prayers, there's some places that you walk into, they ask you for your name. I say, are you related to this person? And they say yes. Say, your father did this and this. Because of that, they're not seeing anybody today, but you, I will see you. I've had many of those encounters, right? And I didn't do anything. It was just, and so that's why the Bible says that a good man will leave an inheritance for
his
his children.
children.
It doesn't have to be material things. It can be these things, right? That are intangible. So starting from where you are, and then just telling God that, God, this is what and what and what and what and what and what. There's nobody that, yes, some people can have. Imagine when you're running on a track, somebody might start ahead of you, but God can put speed on the person's legs that you would miss the person and you would overtake. So it doesn't matter where you are at right now. Just knowing that, say, look, I can overtake and you will overtake. So what happens is that the devil then begins to make you feel like, see where you are like this. You can never ever be more than this. No, it's a big lie. You are created for more and you will be more. So please don't listen to the devil and say, and sometimes it's easy to give excuses to why things are not working for you. It's easy to say, okay, for example, now if I see Otodola's daughter, she bought Lamborghini, I can just easily say, it's because my father is not Otodola, that's why me, I cannot buy Lamborghini. But that's not true. Yes, she might have the unfair advantage of at 25 she can buy a Lamborghini. But who says that me, I will do my own work, God will bless the works of my hand, I will do things excellently well, that I will stand before kings and not mere men. I remember my own Lamborghini at 30 or 35. But if both of us are standing together at 35, we both bought Lamborghini. Nobody needs to know when and where. Do you see? So these are all the things that we need to understand. And some people, they wake up at 30. Next time you wake up is your morning. Just ensure that you see, you assess where you are right now and say, okay, this is where I am now. I'm in Lagos, so I will use Lagos terms. I'm currently in Ikeja and I want to go to VI. Okay, no wahala, no problem. I shall know that I will not enter the bus that will take me to Ikorodu. I will have to enter the bus that will take me to VI. But I already know where I am and where I'm going to. And so it's easy to then say, this is the path I want to follow. Because nobody owes you anything. You need to be able to work out your own salvation. When you think about the parable of talents, where God gave somebody 1, gave somebody 2, gave somebody 5, they have all had talents, right? The person that had 1 could have multiplied it and had 2. From there, we have 4. From there, have 8. From there, have 16. Just look at that. So from just 1, from 16, have 32. And from 32, it just keeps going exponentially. But the person decided to bury it because the person just do not have a futuristic mindset about how this thing can blossom, right? And so you don't want a situation by your 1, even the one that you are complaining about, you bury it. You will not bury it. That one would blossom and yield even more fruits and results in Jesus' name.
And the chat said, Amen. Thank you so much, Rennie. What a conversation.
Amen.
This has been epic. Thank you so much for bringing all of yourself. Thank you for being a blessing to our listeners. Guys, I hope you've had your journals. I should have said at the start, but if I'm sure you have worked that out, that you need to take notes on this one. So if you didn't, make sure you go back, listen from the start and take notes, soak it all up. This conversation is enough to power you through your next season. So thank you so much. God bless you. We can't wait to see all the amazing things that you're doing.
Thank you.
Fastest growing company in Africa, but they're still global. We're global, we're growing, so we know that the sky is not even your limit. So we are here supporting you. Thank you so much for being a part of our podcast.
Thank you.
God bless
you. Thank you. So grateful. Thank you. Bye.